Hello, hello. Happy week before Christmas. Happy day before the snowstorm. I apologize for whatever you see behind me. Still in the midst of moving a tire. So disregard that, but thank you guys for popping in. I'm going to go over the normal today, which is answer your guys' questions that have come in, or some of them at least. I'm going to do happy news as well as real estate updates, okay? So feel free to ask any questions in the chat. Otherwise, I'll just go over some that have come in throughout the week. I hope you guys are all well and safe, being kind to one another, and going after your dreams. So the first question comes from Grace, and Grace is an Angus. So Grace asks, we have an unfinished walkout basement. Do you think we should finish it as a games room and rec room or an apartment? Thank you, Grace, for asking. To be honest, it depends what kind of neighborhood you're in. So if you're in more of an estate, type subdivision area, it's more popular to just have like a wet bar down in the basement, like a big rec room, like you said, possibly a bedroom or two and a full bathroom. Please don't do a powder room in the basement. But if you're more in like a subdivision kind of typical home, it is nice to have a basement apartment as well. That's kind of more 50-50. Some people say we like the extra income, especially with the higher interest rates, etc. Other people will say, no, we have a combined family, she has 3 kids, he has 2 kids, or vice versa, and they need the space for the teenagers downstairs, so that's more of a hit or miss, whereas in the estate subdivisions, they don't like the basement apartments, okay? So it kind of depends where you live, but thank you for asking. If you have any further questions, feel free to message me after this live, and I'll answer any questions for you. So again, I mix some happy news with the questions, as well as then we'll do the real estate right smack dab in the middle. So some happy news first. They always say, like you'd give the shirt off your back, etc., but would you give the shoes off of your feet? So in Minnesota, that was basically exactly what happened. There was a lady that worked at a liquor store, and she saw a homeless person come in, and he was going through their garbage and so forth. And he found 2 boxes, and he put them on his feet, kind of like shoes, and he was shuffling around. And she instantly took her shoes off, gave them to him. They were Jordans. I don't really know my running shoes, but I guess they're pretty expensive. Gave them to him, and he said, nobody would ever give me shoes like this. And she said, well, I'm not everybody or anyone. And so she just gave him the shoes, and he walked away, thankful, kind of with a little strut and what have you. And when her boss came back in from his lunch break, he asked why she was wearing her socks. And I forget if it was her that told, or somebody said, oh, look at the video later or what have you. But basically they saw in the video what she had done. He shared the video. It ended up going viral, and a bunch of people gave some money. And they thought that she would buy the shoes that she had basically given away, so she'd have the shoes back. But in the end, she actually bought a bed. Turns out she was taking care of her sick mother, and she only had one bed. So when her mother slept, she would sleep on the floor. So she ended up buying another bed, so they both have a bed. So anyways, she said if her giving her shoes can make other people be kind, she will give away her shoes every single day. So I like that. Again, I like happy news instead of sad news. Next question comes from Shelly, and Shelly isn't Barry. So Shelly asks, I want to cash out on my house, but know the market's going down. What if I sell now and then wait until April or so to buy? Do you think that is a good idea? Thank you, Crystal, for asking. So yeah, you're right. Economists are saying that spring is supposed to be the lowest of low, and then that would give you more homes to choose from in that time. There's not super amount of inventory at any given time, but that time is the most inventory usually because most people like to move like the last weekend of June or the first few weeks of July. So there tends to be more inventory at that time. So you could then buy at that time, 1, when there's more inventory, and 2, when prices are supposed to be down. I would just be, careful and what have you. And you're like, okay, I'm going to rent for this amount of months, and to see if it all makes sense. Because if the interest rate has gone up, and even though the price might have come down a bit, you might not be actually saving on your monthly payment, plus then you paid rent for 6 months or what have you. But if you have a friend's house you can go to, or your parents have a cottage or something like that, so just be mindful of how much you're spending on rent on that in-between period, okay? And then again, interest rates, etc. But I'll talk about interest rates, and I'm actually going to later on do February of this year versus November of this year, just to give you guys an idea of monthly payments, okay? So thank you for asking. Next question. Actually, no, I just did a question. No, I did. I'm doing another one. Question is from Graham, and Graham's in Warminster. So Graham says, I have 4 grandkids and 3 children. What should I do to set them up for their future? So thank you, Graham, for asking. So it depends, to be honest, if you own a home or what you're thinking. So say, for example, you own a home and maybe you have some equity in it. You could pull it out, whether you buy one home for them and you just let that rack up, funds. I don't know how much or how old, for example, they are. So say you could have it for 15 years and then you could sell it. Whatever the profits are, you could divide it amongst all of those kids and grandkids. Or if you had enough equity to buy a couple of homes, you could do that as well. I would suggest maybe buying something, with a basement apartment, maybe a garden suite in the back, etc. So you have 3 streams of income, for example, but just do your homework first. To see, for example, single family homes, they're the least headache, but they have the least return. Whereas if you get multi-units, they have a bit more headache, but they have more return. But I'd be happy to go over that with you, or you could have an agent, if you have an agent that you know and trust, to go over that with you as well. They can do all the ins and outs and see what makes the most financial sense for however much you can pull out, hopefully from your home, so you can set up your grandkids. That's very sweet of you to think of them and your children. So thank you for that. Oh, I know, there was a story in there. So basically there was a college, or university as they call it. I guess we call it university, they call it a college in the States. And they scored a bunch of points, and people were like, okay, big deal. They score points all the time. What is the big deal? And basically this was in Louisiana. And the reason everybody was so crazy about all these points was because the person that was, I'm going to say the right position, point guard, has one arm. So turns out this fellow is 19. He's from the Dominican Republic. He was in an accident when he was 6 outside, and his arm got crushed, and they had to amputate it, and now he's doing really well. He was scouted basically by a video that was posted of him playing basketball in the Dominican Republic. Somebody scouted him from Florida, and he was on there for a scholarship, and then now he plays again his first year. He's a freshman at university or college as they call it, and he's doing really well. And I like that he was 6 and he said he didn't want anybody to treat him differently, and he didn't, what did he say his exact words? He never wanted to stop working. He never wanted anybody to feel sorry for him or treat him differently. So I just love that he's just going after his goals regardless of what his circumstances or what's happened to him. So I really like that. Next thing was just quick before we get into real estate was a tractor to the rescue. So there were 4 horses in Montana that fell through some ice at a pond, and they started basically with firefighters and people trying to pull them out, but they couldn't get them out even with about 15 people. Then somebody suggested a tractor, so they got all 4 out. They were all taken to the vet, and they were all fine, no injuries, etc. So again, I like happy news. So now we're jumping into real estate. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I will just blab away. Again, I apologize for my attire and for what possibly is behind me in the mess. But just in the midst of moving, only 2 days in here. So thank you guys, and no judgments, okay? So there was a housing market outlook that came out yesterday, and it said that they are guessing that Canada will be down 3.3% in 2023 as a whole. So Canada as a whole, not just Ontario, not just BC, not Nova Scotia, etc., but as a whole, down 3.3. Then they said that some places, for example, will be down more. So they're saying the GTA will be down 11.8%. They're saying Vancouver, however, these are the ones that are going to be up, they think. So Vancouver, they think, is going to be, I should say Greater Vancouver, kind of like GTA, so Greater Vancouver area, not Vancouver. Greater Vancouver, they think, will be up 7%. Calgary, they think, will be up as well. They think 7% as well. They think Ottawa will be up 4%. And they think Halifax will be up 8%, and they think St. John's will be up 4% as well. So all of those places are in the positive. They think GTA is in the negative. They also think Vancouver's in the negative. So they think Vancouver, Greater Vancouver's up, but they think actual Vancouver is down. So they think Vancouver's going to be down 5%, and then Kelowna, which is another city or town basically on the Okanagan Valley in BC, will be down as well, 10%. But just keeping in mind, they also thought it was going to be down 40% in 2020. And you all know that it skyrocketed in 2020, so I'm just telling you what they say. However, it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to come true, okay? Just telling you what they're saying and predicting. So the reason they're predicting that Ottawa, St. John's, Halifax, etc. are going to have these gains is they think that so many people can't afford to be in Ontario that then they will move to other outskirt areas, and that's if they don't want to leave the country, okay? So that's why they think those places, again, Ottawa, Calgary, Halifax, St. John's, etc., will go up in value in 2023. But again, as a whole, they think that Canada will come down 3.3%, okay? Okay, just as a side note, Calgary, the average price is less than half of Ontario's average price. There's been a lot of home sales down, I'm sure you've noticed, so I will go over locally, etc. But first I'm going to do BC. So BC in 2021, they sold 124,000 and change homes. This year, obviously the year is almost over, they're just about 82,000 and change, and they're guessing next year will be 78,000 and change. If that does happen, it'll be 11.4% down, okay, for BC. So some people are just waiting on the sidelines, for example, and they're like, what's going to happen with the interest rates and so forth. And other people are saying, I can't wait. I'm pregnant. I just divorced. I just got married. I just retired. I need no stairs, etc. My dog actually fell down the stairs. He's okay, but he fell down this morning. So maybe I'm like, hey, I need a bungalow or what have you. So there's some people waiting on the sidelines and other people are like, no, I need to move right away because of XX or so forth. So there are always people moving. Some people are saying, hey, I'm not moving till the interest rates stop or the interest rates come down. Again, everybody's different, but I will go over again February of this year versus November of this year just to give you an idea of monthly payments, okay, in a little bit. So economists are still saying that it's a really great time to buy. And the reason they're saying that is because they're saying that there's no frenzy right now. They're saying you can put conditions, so finance inspection, etc. They're saying you're not rushed. You're not against as many buyers when you're putting offers. So you don't have to go to asking or even over asking. You can go under asking. And they're saying as long as you're comfortable and you have the means to do it, that they still think it's a great time to buy. So that's nice to hear. So majority of people, what they're looking for across Canada, more than 75% of people across Canada look for homes under 600,000, and more than half of those people actually look for homes under 300,000. Okay, so once I did a little live like this for under 300,000, but this week I'm just going to say what's under 600,000, basically what you can afford, just because under 300,000 is so hard. Okay, so what you can afford if you need to be under 600,000 across Canada, not everywhere, but majority of places, this is what it can get you. So in Vancouver, you could get a condo. That condo is going to be about 525 square feet, and it's going to cost you about $375,000. However, this is a condo built in the 70s, not a new one, okay? So that's Vancouver, built in the 70s condo. If you go to Kelowna, again, that kind of winery type place there, they also have surfing and so forth. 1,290 square feet, you can get a condo there, built in 1990 for about $550,000. Okay, so again, keeping you under 600,000. If you go to Calgary, you can get a detached home just under 1,100 square feet for $560,000 on average in November. In Edmonton, you could get a 1,400 square foot home, and that would cost you about $380,000, and that is a century home. Okay, and detached. If you went to Regina, which is in Saskatchewan, you could get detached, of course, just shy of 1,600 square feet, 1,575 to be exact. And the nice thing about that, yes, it's 600,000, but it's only 8 to 10 years old, where a lot of these other ones are older in century homes. And yes, they might have redone the kitchen, etc., but they probably haven't done the plumbing. They probably haven't done the electrical and so forth. Okay, so that is nice about that. If you were to go to Saskatchewan, you could get a detached home around 1,400 square feet or so for about $530,000. If you went to Winnipeg, very cold in the winter, but 1,700 square feet, you could get a detached home, a century home, for about $575,000. If you went to Toronto, you're going to be in a condo, of course, around 860 square feet. And it's not going to be a new one. It's going to be probably from the 70s, and you're going to be about $520,000, $525,000. If you're moving to Ottawa, you could get into a 1,200 square foot condo. And actually, it was condo townhouse, so whichever you want to call that, a townhouse condo. That one's going to cost you about $600,000, and they're built around the 2005 range. Now, if you're coming to Barrie, not to say my hometown, but basically where I've lived for 22 years and lived for 3 or 4 years when I was a kid, there are 3 different options under $600,000. So you could get into a townhome, okay? So that townhome's about 1,130 square feet, your $600,000. It was built approximately 10 to 15 years ago. You could get a condo. The condo is about 1 year old. It's bigger square footage, 1,150 square feet for $600,000. Or you can get into a fully detached home. However, it needs a lot of work. It's about 850 square feet, and it's $600,000, and it was built in the 40s to 50s. But you don't have drywall. You have a really old kitchen, etc. So those are your options in Barrie. In Montreal, you're also going to be in a condo. If you're under 600,000, you're going to be about 850 square feet, and that's going to cost you about $545,000. If you go to St. John's, you can get into a townhome. It's actually a century townhome. It's going to cost you about $330,000, so really cheap there. Hi, Tiff. How are you? Hi, Becky. Hi, Wilson. I can't see who that is. Sabrina and Jeff, thank you guys for watching. If you're in Halifax, you're going to be in a condo. It's going to be about 1,200 square feet, and it's going to be built in the mid to late 80s, and it's going to cost you about $500,000 to set you back if you're in Halifax. If you're in Charlottetown, for example, you can get a detached home, and this is actually where you can get the biggest one under 500 under 600,000. So you can get 2,500 square feet, and it's only going to cost you about $470. Okay, if you're in Charlottetown. In Fredericton, you're going to be about 1,500 square feet. You can get a detached home, but it will be built in the 60s. But you're in that price point of even cheaper, so you're about 470 to 475. Okay, so that's what you can buy if you're under 600,000, just because it is such a common thing. Again, more than 75% of Canadians are in that price point right now. Okay, and more than half of those actually ask for 200 to 300,000. Now, many of you know last Wednesday that the interest rates went up 0.5%. So that was the 7th rate hike this year. And a lot of people are like, what does that mean, etc., which is why I'm going to break down the February versus November, okay? So somebody said to me recently that you actually date your interest rate and you buy your home, or not buy your home, marry your home. So you date your interest rate, the percentage, and then you marry your home price, because your interest rate is probably for about 3 to 5 years, kind of more like dating, whereas you marry your home price 25 to 30 years, etc., that you're married to your home price. Okay, so I kind of like the way to look at that. And even though right now the interest rate is higher, it actually requires less money down, and you have to make less per year, and it costs you less per month. So I will go over that, and hopefully that is helpful for you guys. So in February, the average home in Simcoe County was over $1 million. It was $1,081,185 $185 to be exact, and now the average price in Simcoe County is $796 and $947. I just like the shortened versions, but so basically $1,081,000 versus $796. Okay, $1,081,000 in February and $796 in February for the average sales price in Simcoe County. So if you were to buy in February, the average interest rate was 3.14. If you were to buy right now, the average interest rate is 4.99. And in February, you had to qualify at 5.25, and now you have to qualify at 6.99. Okay. So based off of the average sales price in February, you would have to put $216,000 and change down, and that would mean your mortgage would be about $864. Again, I'm not doing the after the comma. So that would be for 25 years at a rate of 3.14 if we were doing it in February. So your monthly payment would be $4,155 if you bought in February. Okay, the average sales price, again, $4,155, and you need $216,000 down. Okay, which is crazy. But if you bought right now, for example, the average sales price, of course, is lower. So therefore, you'd only need $159,000 down and change. Your mortgage would be about $637. Again, the rate is higher, but not super higher, 4.99. And at 25 years, that makes your rate, your monthly payment, $3,704.44 a month. So $3,704 a month versus $4,155 a month. So you're paying less a month. You put less down, and you don't have to make as much a year. I think I said $21,000 less a year you can make. So a lot of people think, oh, it's crazy, the interest rates, but you can put less money down. You can pay less a month, and you don't have to make as much on your job. So that's good. I know that everybody just sees, the interest rates and the doom and gloom that the banks like to show you, but I just wanted to give you guys that aspect as well. In Barrie, there were 129 units that sold this past November. So that is 36.1% down from last year. Okay, so obviously less homes have sold. The average townhome price, for example, was $562,000 and change. Again, I don't like the change. The average condo was $534,000 and change. And the average home in general was $814,000 and change. So that was down 11.1% from last year. However, the average year to date was up over 12%, 12.8% to be exact, and the average year to date price is $834,542 if you want to be exact, or just $834. I like those numbers, are easier to know. The average year to date in Simcoe, so not in Barrie, but in Simcoe, the average year to date of prices in Simcoe County is over $1 million still. It's $1,034,745. So again, that's up 12.8%. And there were 18.2% more listings November 2022 versus November 2021. Again, so more people listing their properties this year. And if you were to ask why, it's just because a lot of people are hearing how low it's going to be next year, so people are wanting to sell their homes before then. So just as an FYI. So in Barrie, in November, there were 283 homes that sold in November, okay? That was last year. So 283 were sold and 287 were listed, which is crazy. 283 sold, 287 listed. Whereas this year, there were only 187 sold and 302 listed. So way more listed, but less sold. So that kind of sucks. 33.9% less were sold. The average days on market, so this year was 30 in November, and last year was 14 last November of 2021. And in Simcoe County, so that was just Barrie, but if we do Simcoe County as a whole, so there were 628 homes sold out of the 667 listed in November of 2021. In November of 2022, there were 416 sold of the 809 listed. So you can see less were sold, but way more were listed. So that is that. And last year, the average sales price was 106.5% of asking. And this year, it was 96.2% of asking. Next question comes from Crystal, and Crystal is in Newmarket. Crystal said, I want to cash out on my house, but no, didn't I say that before? I'm pretty sure I did. So I'm going to do another question. I'm going to do Jocelyn. Jocelyn from Shanty Bay said, I was wondering what rights short-term renters have if I were to open my house to them. So thank you, Jocelyn, for asking. So to be honest, they don't have the rights like a Residential Tenancy Act was, or what they have. So for example, if I rented this home to somebody long-term, they have certain rights if they don't pay their rent and so forth. Whereas if they're renting it short-term, they don't have those rights at all. If they're having a party, I can cancel the reservation through Airbnb or Vrbo or whoever it is, and then the owner still gets paid, and you can even have the police go over. Whereas if you're renting long-term and somebody doesn't pay, the police, it's not in their jurisdiction or whatever you call it, they can't get them out, okay? So that is that. On a side note, just if you guys don't know about our 1% listing commission, feel free to call our office at 705-726-7000. Again, 705-726-7000. We also have a guarantee that we sell your house or we will buy it for cash. And also, if you don't like your home, we'll buy it back within the year, or you can sell it for free. And we also have a guarantee if your home goes down in value, we will sell it for free. So we have lots of guarantees. Again, feel free to call our office if you have any questions about those. 705-726-7000. In Los Angeles, there was an opera singer, and she was homeless, and a police officer basically took a video of her and posted it, and the very next day, she had outreach and outpour or whatever of hundreds of thousands of people. She even had a gig the very next night in front of thousands of people where she got $700 just to sing one song for 3 minutes. And she had over $68,000 in a GoFundMe that was started for her. And she had all these paid singing gigs. She's been homeless from 42 to 52. She used to be a musician and a piano teacher. And it looks like she can be back on her way to being a musician, etc., all because of this police officer who posted a video, who she is incredibly grateful for and very overwhelmed with how everything's turned out in such a short period after being homeless for 10 years. So that was that. I thought that was cute. Obviously, I like those kind of stories. So next question is from Jeremy, and Jeremy is in Guildford. Jeremy said, my mortgage is going to renew October of 2023. How do I know if I should lock in or take a variable, or what if I can't even afford the new rate? Thank you, Jeremy, for asking. I obviously don't know what the rate's going to be next October. I don't know if it's going to go up every single time or every other time or not at all or go down, etc. So I can't really say if you're going to be able to afford it or not, nor do I know what your income is or how much your mortgage is, etc. So I would talk to a mortgage agent at that time. I'm a real estate broker, not a mortgage broker. So I can't say what is the best avenue for you. Maybe it is, maybe it's already on a downward trend at that time and you want to go on a variable because you don't want to lock in, and then the next 3 times it goes down, then you're kicking yourself. So it kind of depends what's going on then. But luckily you don't have to decide for not over a year, but just less than a year. So hopefully some things are a bit more clear with the market by then. And I apologize, I can't really answer that fully for you. But if you message me like next September, even though I'm not, again, a mortgage broker, I'd probably have a much better idea for you. And hopefully you're well looking forward to the holidays with maybe family or friends. Next thing is Down syndrome. So a lot of people get, not pushed aside but maybe not taken as seriously or what have you, or jobs or what have you. But I like that there was a lady, or there is a lady, and her name's Eleanor, and she's out in France, and she became the municipal counselor for the city where she lives at. I'm not even a municipal counselor. And she was also awarded the National Order of Merit, which is the second highest honor roll in France. She does have Down syndrome. And not only is she this municipal counselor, she also works part-time at the hospital. She also volunteers tons. She's also on a board position where they help community and the community's family who have members of their family that are Down syndrome or they have Down syndrome. She also wrote a book in 2014 called Down Syndrome, So What? And she also has her own foundation called Friends of Eleanor. So I don't know what your excuse is, but she doesn't seem to have any. So she's doing everything. So I love that. And then did I miss a question? I feel like I might have missed a question. I had that one. Oh yeah, Shelly from Barrie. That's what I was missing. So Shelly from Barrie said, I heard that white kitchens are out. Is that true? I have a white kitchen over there, but I did do it 4 years ago. But yeah, I mean, people always, it goes through phases. I've seen a lot of like kind of more taupies, light grays. I've seen, you know, like light washed woods, etc. And then you see the odd black one as well. But then you also see white too. So whatever floats your boat, whether you're trying to do resale, etc. If you're doing resale, I probably would try a bit more of a softer kind of color. Just the palette's changed a bit. So it's not as starchy white anymore. But I'd be happy to send you some, you know, Pinterest or what have you if you have any questions about that. But thank you for asking. And one last thing is vending machines. We've all probably bought a chocolate bar out of one or a Gatorade or something like that, a bag of chips. And in the States, as well as even in Puerto Rico, they're actually trying something new, which are like safety drug machines. I know that kind of sounds funny, but basically these drug machines have this thing called naloxone, which counteracts opioid overdoses. So people can go and if they think they're going to overdose or their friends are overdosing or something, they can get it there. And there's also test strips so they can test to see if there's any fentanyl in the drugs that they're taking. And basically these cities are saying, hey, we know some people are doing drugs and they're always going to do drugs. We just want them to do drugs safer. So they also have safe injection kits in there as well as bandages, etc. So I just thought that was interesting because obviously there's lots of things going on in the world and everybody's on a different path and different struggles and so forth. So I like that they're trying to keep people as safe as they can, regardless of the lifestyle that they might be currently living. Anyways, that's all for me. I hope you guys be kind to one another. Again, I always love that. Be safe out there. Go after everything you've ever imagined, regardless of what anyone's told you or you think that you can or cannot achieve. I'm sure you can. I believe in you and have a super remainder to your day.